Some feuds run deeper than others. Some just have a different feel to them. You get the sense that lines have been crossed that go beyond fight promotion or any competitive rivalry. Well, for our money, no feud in UFC history has even come close to the one shared between the legendary duo Khabib Nurmagomedov and Conor McGregor. Lines were crossed relating to culture, religion, family, teammates, and more.
A little rat, a little weasel, a little hard man in groups. I am going to truly love putting a bad beating on this little glass jaw rat.
And by the time things were settled in the cage, the relationship between Team Khabib and Team McGregor was in an even worse place. No resolution was reached, no peace was made.
And now Khabib jumps the fence. Whoa! No! And he's going right at Dylan Dennis. Mayhem! Oh no!
And it's funny to think that the real momentum behind this rivalry all started with a little comment from the GOAT himself, Artem Lobov. Speaking to the Russian media in 2018, Artem drew attention to Khabib's long history of withdrawing from fights, calling him a chicken, a name Nurmagomedov himself had slung towards McGregor.
Your guy, beginning of the year, he tap like chicken. End of the year, he fight for the title. I wanna fight with your chicken because this is #1 easy fight in lightweight division.
Khabib, as we all know, didn't take kindly to this. And when he found his opportunity, he cornered Artem during UFC 223 Fight Week, creating a viral video that saw him intimidating the SBG Ireland featherweight with a group of friends. If this was the bait, Conor McGregor took it immediately, flying halfway across the world to get his revenge. As most of you will know, Conor and Artem's relationship is in a pretty rough place these days. But in 2018, loyalty was something McGregor seemingly valued more than any sum of money. Not that he had any shortage of it, even then. But that viral clip was enough to send McGregor into a rage, and before anyone knew what was happening, UFC 223's media day took a turn for the truly chaotic, as Conor and a large posse of his associates stormed the Red Corner fighter bus, causing damage to both the vehicle itself and some of the athletes on board.
What the fuck, fucking pussy? You!
Back it out! You get the camera out there. Don't
sit down.
This was the first of many stories in this saga that would be reported far outside the reaches of the MMA media.
Oh, UFC star Conor McGregor now under arrest this morning after he was caught right there on video breaking out the windows of a rival fighter's bus.
This rivalry would eventually go on to do the type of pay-per-view numbers that transcended MMA's usual results. And the earliest signs that this was bigger than the UFC were there, right in front of us. Take a look at any sports channel or news website on April 5th, and you'd be watching journalists who had never taken even a slight interest in MMA reporting on this developing story. There's an argument that it was the single craziest week in MMA history. And when Khabib managed to comfortably defeat Al La Quinta over 5 rounds to win the belt that Conor had very recently been stripped of, it was clear what would happen next. October of 2018 was the month that saw UFC 229 break every record in the book. Every clip, every interview, every episode of Embedded, the numbers were going through the roof. Conor was doing everything in his power to provoke Khabib. He even brought a Chechen sparring partner, Ayub Magomedov, just so he could mention the tensions between Chechnya and Dagestan in recent memory. And when the time came for these two to finally sit across from each other on stage, they did not disappoint.
Why you come here? But 6 October, 6 October, what you gonna do? This is not
stomping on
this is not about
and
whiskey.
if you pull out a fight,
6
I'm gonna
October,
love
I'm gonna mow you.
If you pull out this fight, I'm gonna love what happens to you,
6
your
October, I'm gonna
family,
mow
and
you.
your team even more.
Conor, wearing the most ridiculously perfect pink suit imaginably, brought a fiery, maybe slightly drunken fury to proceedings that contrasted perfectly with Khabib's stoic, almost disinterested demeanor. He played it calm, and it accentuated everything McGregor did. These two were polar opposites, and it showed at every turn. On fight night, tensions were truly peaking, and the octagon readied itself to play host to this electric contest. By the time Bruce Buffer moved in to do his intro, you could see how ready these two were to throw down. As soon as the octagon cleared and the fight got underway, we got at least some sense of how the bout would play out. Khabib's wrestling was a major kryptonite to McGregor's dynamic striking, and it showed. Conor was so caught up with trying to defend takedowns that he took his eyes off of a massive overhand from Nurmagomedov in the second round, suffering his first knockdown as a pro mixed martial artist. From there, it was a matter of wearing the Irishman out, and when the opening came, Khabib pounced on the neck, tapping his great rival with a crank that left him with his 27th victory and his first title defense.
Nope, it's on the chin.
There's the tap! Still undisputed! Khabib Nurmagomedov!
Conor sat upright against the cage, totally spent. But as it turned out, Nurmagomedov himself was not done. After noticing Team McGregor's Dillon Danis still jawing at him cage-side, the Eagle decided to do something totally insane. Spotting a gap in the security, Khabib jumped over the side of the octagon, leaping directly into Conor's corner to get his hands on Danis.
Oh, and now Khabib jumps the fence. Whoa! No! And he's going right at Dillon Danis. Mayhem! Oh, no!
All of a sudden, a full-on brawl had broken out. Just as we were focused on Khabib and the crowd of people who surrounded him, some of his own teammates snuck up on Conor in the cage and sucker punched him.
And now one of Nurmagomedov's teammates throws a right hand at Conor. All hell has broken loose!
Security eventually killed the two separate skirmishes, and both men were escorted out of the arena, but the damage had been done. You could watch MMA for 100 years and never see anything close to this wild post-fight scene. Prior to this event, Diaz vs. McGregor 2 held a promotional record for pay-per-view buys with an impressive $1.65 million. But Khabib vs. McGregor hit on a different level altogether. This was not just a domestic success. No, this was a global event, one that made an internationally renowned superstar out of Khabib. 2.4 million pay-per-views was the buy rate, making this bout one of the 5 highest-selling combat sports events of all time. And in the years that followed, given just how famous both men continued to become, there was an expectation that a sequel would be even more popular. But it was not to be. Bound by a promise to his late father, Abdulmanap, and his mother, Khabib walked away from the UFC octagon with a perfect record 29-0, declining the chance to go for a clean 30 victories. Conor, on the other hand, has indeed struggled in recent times, but 2023 still carries with it the potential for one last resurgence. Only time will tell, I guess. But while it lasted, Khabib Nurmagomedov and Conor McGregor engaged in a feud that went far beyond even the likes of Jones and Cormier or Liddell and Ortiz. No, this was something different, something that went far, far beyond the realms of competitive energy or a simple personality clash. To finish, let's take a trip down memory lane, back to 2014, where some of you will be shocked to know that these two were on very good terms. A polite, cordial, and totally respectful Twitter exchange, neither man had any idea what was about to unfold. But when things turned sour, oh, they turned as sour as can be. This was the most vicious feud in MMA history, and boy, was it a thrill to behold.